Ashley Holmes was standing in front of a wide window on the top level of a 35-story glass office building in Manhattan, New York. The time was 3 p.m. on December 23rd. She observed in silence as the snowfall turned the normally busy financial district into a serene, gilded setting. Her walls were covered in trophies, and her desk was buried in the fourth quarter's investment analysis papers. Ashley was regarded as one of the investment bank's best senior analysts at the age of 35. Her normally assured demeanor faltered as she sighed and said to herself, "Will it really go well tomorrow?" Her father had been dead for 15 years. Ashley had devoted herself to her career throughout that period in order to support herself. Her $150,000 salary and well-managed funds were evidence of her hard work. On her phone, a fresh notice showed up. Her brother Brian's most recent Instagram picture included a brand new Rolex watch with the words, "Life is great, luxurious, living, happy family." One more brand new timepiece. Ashley scowled, as though it would last forever. Her brother had been wasting their father's wealth. The same was true of his wife, Vanessa, who shared images of high-end purses and accessories virtually every day. Her stepfather, Douglas, and mother, Hillary, also led extravagant lives at a posh Florida home. As usual, Ashley's mother had called her the previous evening for money. Ashley heard a contemptuous tone in her mother's voice. "Brian is looking to purchase a new vehicle. He requires a deposit." Ashley said, "All right, I'll transfer it again," obviously having granted such requests several times in the past. She helped her brother out financially and maintained her parents' lavish lifestyle. She pulled a picture of her last Christmas with her father out of her desk drawer. Despite his frailty, he had a lovely smile on his face in the hospital photo. She muttered to the picture, "Dad, I'm trying hard," before turning to look at a reservation confirmation for Skytop Lodge, an upscale lodge in the Aspen Mountains. For the Christmas season, she had reserved 30 suites at $800 per night, for a total of around $10,000. Even considering her salary, it was a big choice. For Ashley, this trip was more than simply a family holiday. It was her final opportunity to patch things up with her family. She believed that by taking up all the expenses and making time for the whole family, something would change. The phone in the office rang. The call came from Skytop Lodge as a confirmation. For her stay beginning tomorrow, they wanted to finalize the preparations. Ashley put herself in her typical professional position and straightened up. "Yes, Ashley here, regarding tomorrow's matter." Ashley glanced out the window once again while she spoke on the phone. Anxiety and excitement were mingled together on that cold afternoon. A Louis Vuitton luggage was half-packed on the bed in the middle of Ashley's room. She folded a dark green cashmere sweater that she would wear the next day. Although it wasn't a $30,000 sweater, Ashley's choices and outlook on life were represented in the sweater's premium fabric and straightforward design. In front of the mirror, she pressed the dark green sweater to her breast and said, "Is this the right outfit?" In order to keep up with Douglas's opulent preferences, Vanessa constantly wore the newest designer labels, and her mother had come to like gaudy attire. The telephone rang. William was the one. "Is everything progressing?" His voice was full of concern, mixed with its normal warmth. Ashley said, "Yes, mostly," with a somewhat worn-out tone. "I've given the staff at Skytop Lodge special instructions. Contact me immediately if anything happens." Skytop Lodge was one of the upscale resorts owned by William, a well-known hotel chain owner in the United States. Since meeting at an investors' convention 2 years prior, they had been steadily establishing a connection. Ashley went on, "Thank you, but it'll be okay," as she made her way to the window. "I think things will be different this time. Something will alter as a result of this journey." Ashley hung up the phone and settled upon her living room sofa. On the coffee table was a photograph of her final moments with her father. It happened in a white hospital room 15 years ago, right before her father died. Ashley's thin father had grasped her hand tenderly and remarked, "You're strong. I can only rely on you to look after the family." Ashley carried those words close to her heart while she worked hard in her studies, earned stellar marks in college, and advanced in the financial industry. In her early 30s, she rose to the position of senior analyst at an investment bank by working just as hard as her male co-workers. After their father passed away, her brother Brian left college and proceeded to live off the fortune with his stepfather's approval. Following their marriage, he and his spouse, Vanessa, continued to live a lavish lifestyle. A message from Brian vibrated on Ashley's smartphone. "You're going to come get me tomorrow morning, correct? Avoid sleeping in too late." Even in text, his usual haughty tone was evident. For a moment, Ashley said, "Of course." Using her own vehicle for transportation caused her to feel conflicted. Brian seldom drove his own car and instead opted for high-end cab services. It was beyond 10 o'clock when I looked at the clock. Early the next morning, she had to pick up her family. Ashley let out a sigh and started packing the last of her bags. Her heartbeat accelerated a little, perhaps in anticipation of tomorrow. His grin appeared reassuring as she took one more look at her father's picture. She said to herself, "Tomorrow will surely go well," as she made her way to the bedroom. With a mixture of excitement and worry for the following day, it appeared like it would take some time to go into a peaceful slumber. A shimmering globe of snow covered Manhattan on the morning of Christmas Eve. 6 a.m. was displayed on the clock. Ashley was up before the sound of her alarm clock. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "Today," before getting out of bed. In fact, it was better that she woke up 30 minutes sooner than she had intended. Before she picked up her family, she wanted to make sure everything was ready. Ashley carefully put on her makeup in front of the bathroom's enormous mirror. She had a single diamond necklace around her neck, a memento of her father. Her understated yet sophisticated clothing perfectly captured Ashley's essence. In the reflection in the mirror, the self-assurance she had built up over the course of her 35 years of existence, and the fear of what lay ahead, mingled quietly. It was quieter than normal in her opulent apartment building's subterranean parking garage. On Christmas Eve morning, the majority of the inhabitants were most likely still asleep. Ashley turned on her black Mercedes-Benz S550, which glittered in the garage lights. The path was shown by the navigation system. Her mother's and stepfather's fancy apartment on the Upper East Side was the first stop. She would then travel to Brooklyn, where she would live with Brian and Vanessa. Although the roads were clean, the snow required careful driving. Her mother, Hillary, wearing a bright red coat and carrying a big Gucci purse, was already waiting at the apartment door when she got to the Upper East Side. Douglas, her stepfather, silently climbed into the rear seat. Her mother's voice was artificial when she said, "Good morning, Ashley," as though she were wishing a posh cab driver a good morning. They then proceeded to the Brooklyn home of Brian and Vanessa. Despite reports that their wealth was diminishing, the couple maintained appearances by moving to a posh neighborhood lately. "Ashley, you're late!" Brian's voice was full of his typical haughtiness. Vanessa was carrying an identical purse, while wearing a brand new Gucci coat. They both appeared to have been taken from a fashion magazine. Ashley grabbed the wheel gingerly, with everyone on board. Sitting in the passenger seat, Brian was continuously tinkering with his phone, most likely posting something pompous. There was a thick air in the automobile. There was hardly no talk, save for the occasional whisper between Vanessa and Hillary. After around 2 hours of driving, Ashley's anxiousness was somewhat reduced when she saw the stunningly gorgeous snow-covered peaks of the Pocono Mountains. "Ah, you can see it now," Brian cried out abruptly. Amid the wintry surroundings, the opulent Skytop Lodge building emerged. The opulent structure, designed in the Italian Renaissance style, was beautifully in tune with the natural surroundings. There were lights everywhere, and a huge Christmas tree adorned the front door. One by one, luxury automobiles pulled up, and all the rich families got out. A bellhop in uniform came over as Ashley parked the car in front of the door. "Everything changed from that point on," Brian said. "You've worked hard to get us here." And his voice reverberated throughout the vehicle. Ashley turned and peered at the rear seat. There, she noticed her brother grinning malevolently in a way she had never seen before. Her stepfather, Douglas, and mother, Hillary, looked away, but Vanessa smiled slightly. Ashley had a gut feeling that something negative was going to occur. "This is where the driver's work finishes. This hotel is exclusively for us, the real family," Brian said. Ashley was shocked for a second. The car's interior temperature seemed to have dropped precipitously. "What do you mean?" Ashley's voice faltered a little. "I made the reservations." "Oh, the reservations," said Brian with a smile. "They've been altered already. Just to our names." Hillary, her mother, appeared distressed, but remained silent. Douglas, her stepfather, kept staring out the window. Vanessa didn't try to conceal her sly smile. Ashley was the only one who did not exit the vehicle. Brian told the bellhop to grab the bags. With deliberate effort to keep her hands from shaking, Ashley carefully pulled out her smartphone and dialed William's number. It took many rings before his steady voice could be heard. "Hello, Ashley," Ashley said. "William, cancel the reservations," with a surprising level of composure. "All of them, please." William appeared to comprehend the issue after a little pause on the other end. "I get it. I'll set it up immediately." Just then, a uniformed employee came up from the front desk. The black suit was a striking contrast to the white snow. Ashley stared through the glass from inside the automobile. When the staff worker said, "I'm sorry, we cannot find your reservation," Brian's smile disappeared from his face. In a panic, Hillary started rummaging through her purse. For the first time, Douglas looked to the front. Hillary's nervous mumbling, "There must be some mistake," could be heard. Ashley lowered the vehicle window cautiously. "It's no mistake," Ashley said in a composed tone. "We have canceled all bookings. Goodbye." "Ashley, wait!" There was a sense of desperation in Brian's voice. "It's just a joke. You know." Yes, but Ashley had already grabbed the steering wheel and turned on the engine. She could see her family standing there, confused, in the rearview mirror. In the snow, Vanessa's pricey footwear slipped. Hillary's words trailed off into the wind. "Ashley." Slowly, the automobile pulled out of the hotel parking area and started to backtrack. The snow kept falling. Ashley let a single tear fall down her cheek. It was a tear of freedom rather than grief. Brian was phoning when her phone started to ring. She disregarded it. Hillary then gave me a call. She also disregarded that. One by one, messages began to come in. "What would you do?" "It's Christmas Eve. We're ashamed of you. Will the lodging expenses be reimbursed?" The final message caused Ashley to chuckle a little. Ultimately, they were always more interested in money than in love or family ties. They were only interested in calculations and appearances. Ashley made the decision to go to William's penthouse rather than her own apartment as she drove down the mountain toward the city. Her face in the rearview mirror gave her a newfound feeling of clarity. The snowfall was softly lit by the streetlights, which gave the joyous evening a serene radiance. It felt unexpectedly reassuring to be in the car alone, with no one in the rear seat. Ashley's vehicle slid into William's penthouse's subterranean parking garage 2 hours later. As she entered the elevator, a warm feeling began to spread throughout her chest. She could obviously see that she was on the correct track. The warmth of the apartment and the presence of William welcomed her as she opened the door. The living area was softly lighted by the already lit fireplace. "Ashley, are you okay?" With a tone of profound concern, William inquired. "Yes," Ashley said with a smile. "Actually, I feel relieved." William sipped 2 glasses of wine and listened silently as Ashley told him everything, including Brian's sly smirk, her mother Hillary's averted eyes, and her own actions. William told her, "Ashley, you made the right choice," from the couch facing the fireplace. Ashley whispered as she stared at the wine glass in her hand. "But I ruined their Christmas because of me." "That's not true," William said in a kind but strong tone. "They wrecked Christmas for themselves. You just safeguarded your own value." Ashley's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't sad ones. Rather, these were tears of relief from the years-long load she had been carrying. Once more, her phone vibrated. It was a note from Douglas, her stepfather this time. "The whole family is ashamed of you because of your self-centeredness. Never again reveal your face." Ashley fully shut down her phone. She had never experienced the warmth of her family before, but William put his hand on her shoulder. "From tomorrow, a new life begins," Ashley said as she gazed into the fireplace's glow. William gave a mute nod, saying, "I will no longer allow anyone to meddle in my life." This was the most significant Christmas Eve of Ashley's life. Her family was still with her. She had found herself again. In the hearthlight, her father's memento necklace gleamed gently. Manhattan was engulfed in a gleaming white wonderland on Christmas morning. Snow continued to fall softly between the high buildings, quietly masking the events of the previous day, creating a postcard-like vista from William's penthouse windows. William greeted her. "Good morning, honey," while brewing coffee. The room was filled with the fragrance of espresso. William said softly, "This morning, I received a call from Skytop Lodge. Your family made quite a scene." Ashley calmly said, "I expected as much," while standing by the window with a mug cupped in her hands. There must have been a disturbance because of Brian. As soon as she turned on her phone, the screen was flooded with notifications. More than 40 missed calls and almost 100 texts, the most of which were from her brother Brian and mother Hillary, with a handful from Douglas. "Ashley, is this okay in your opinion? I'll never forget how you made us seem foolish in a 5-star hotel lobby. You have no right to abuse us like this. How about this evening?" Her mother sent her the final message saying, "We need to talk about money. Give me a call right now." Ashley let out a long sigh and put the phone away. William gave her a comforting embrace from behind. Ashley said, "I've made up my mind, prepared to take on whatever comes next." Ashley turned to face William, feeling liberated and empowered. Her determination was evident. She adamantly proclaimed, "I'm cutting off all ties with them." William gave her a subtle nod, his face expressing his complete support for her choice. He said softly, "Are you sure about this? After all, they are your family." Ashley said, "No, they aren't," with conviction. "A true family supports and understands one another. They were only strangers with a financial obsession." They went to the breakfast table, where William had made scrambled eggs and croissants, a basic but loving breakfast. Ashley had been looking for happiness, and this was it. William remarked, "I have a proposal for you, Ashley," as he gazed at her questioningly. "Why don't we live together?" Ashley was stunned for a second. Outside the window, the snow is falling softly. William proposed, "Let's begin a new life here together." Ashley's eyes welled up with emotions at his comments, tears of happiness at being released from the illusory constraints of family and discovering a new, real one. "Yes," said Ashley, grinning. "That sounds wonderful." William grinned broadly. At that moment, her phone started ringing once again. "Mom," the screen said, but Ashley didn't hesitate any longer. After picking up the phone, she blocked her mother's number altogether, then those of Brian and Douglas. Ashley declared, "I've taken a new step," with a bright and clear face. William smiled warmly in response. A significant cold wave struck Manhattan in mid-January, shortly after the new year. The metropolis appeared to tremble in the freezing north wind as viewed from Ashley's office window. "Mizu Holmes, there's a visitor for you in the lobby," her secretary said over the intercom. "Mrs. Hillary Brown is here." Above the keyboard, Ashley's hands hesitated. For the first time since that Christmas Eve, she heard her mother's name, Hillary Brown. "I get it," Ashley said, her voice wavering a little. "I'll be right there." Ashley's high heels clattered on the marble floor of the first-level foyer of the high-rise building as she readied herself for her mother's reunion. Her mother, wearing a plain gray coat instead of her normal gaudy outfit, was seated on the visitor's sofa. She was obviously tired, as seen by the muted makeup. "May I come in?" Her mother's voice had lost its haughtiness. After giving her mother a slight nod, Ashley escorted her to the elevator. When they got to the business, Ashley motioned for her mom to have a seat on the sofa in the outside reception area. The air started to dance with light snow. She began gently, "I came here because I needed to talk," as her mother sat across from Ashley and shared a cup of coffee. "We've reached our limit." Ashley had anticipated it well. After years of lavish living, her father's estate was all but gone. They were now in debt since her stepfather's real estate ventures had failed. Brian had fallen behind on his rent and was having trouble affording his new automobile. "We need help," her mother said in a tremulous voice. "Mom, is this about money?" Ashley asked in a relaxed tone. "Yes," her mother said, a little reluctantly. "For the monthly living expenses, Brian's car loan and—" "Mom, that's enough," Ashley interrupted her. "I'm not the family bank anymore. I have made the decision to live my own life." In sharp contrast to Ashley's unwavering resolve, her mother's face became hazy. "But we're family." "What does real family mean anyway?" Ashley inquired softly. "You guys were like a chauffeur to me during Christmas. When Brian smiled spitefully at me, you remained silent. Is that family?" There was a thick quiet in the room. "Listen, Ashley," Hillary, her mother, said with tears in her eyes. "I really apologize for what transpired that day. But I'm in serious difficulty right now. I need your assistance." Ashley got up slowly and went to the window to look out at the scenery. In the background was the building her father used to run. Ashley said, "Mom, go home," without looking back. "And please don't return. I own my life." "Mom, goodbye, Ashley." Her mother stood up silently, though it appeared like she wanted to say more. The room reverberated with the sound of the door closing. Ashley went back to her desk, touched her father's treasured necklace, and let out a long sigh. Her chest felt a little lighter, which was odd because it was heavy. The panorama of Manhattan has changed with the coming of spring. The park was full of blooming flowers as seen from William's penthouse window. Ashley stared at the view while holding her morning coffee. "Ashley, what are you thinking about?" William softly questioned her from behind. "Just a lot of things," said Ashley, grinning. "In these 3 months, my life has changed so much." The modifications were substantial, in fact. She had been promoted to head of her department at the investment bank and had told William she was engaged. Her abilities were completely appreciated as the team leader for a new project. Her mother had not been in touch with her, and Brian's ostentatious social media posts were vanished. A coworker later informed her that they had downsized from a lavish apartment to a small one and were now leading a simpler life. Any regrets? Standing next to her and gazing at the cherry blossoms, William posed the question. Not at all. Ashley touched her father's memento necklace and said, This is the route I've chosen. Thought to herself, true family isn't necessarily about blood relations, Ashley reflected. It's about understanding and supporting each other. She had met William in a posh restaurant after twilight, and he had some significant news. With a smile, William declared, "We're going to expand with a new hotel chain on the West Coast. And I want you involved as an investment advisor." Ashley instantly gave a nod. Work and personal life were becoming perfectly balanced. She sensed something. A new beginning for our lives. Ashley's glass went up. William grinned and clinked his glass with hers. "Yes, our lives," he said. The sound of the bell was like the start of a fresh chapter.